Very good afternoon, everyone. I hope my voice is audible. Okay, great. I think I see a few responses already. Quick yes or no on chat will be great. Good afternoon, everyone. Okay, Mr. Praveen, Mr. Nandu. Okay, we have a few more joinees. Good afternoon. I hope my voice is audible. Mr. Ripple, Mr. Bibash. Okay, great. So we will start off shortly while I'm still waiting for more audience to join in. In the meantime, I would like to know what is it that you're expecting from today's session. Obviously, you know the topic, that is evolution on GST over the last 6 years in the country. So I would like to understand what is it that all of you are expecting from today's session. And of course, I think there are some repeat attendees as well today. So I would like to see your responses on the chat. Let me also type right here. Okay, I hope all of you are able to see my message on the chat. So I'd like to see some responses from what is it that you're expecting from today's session. Of course, we have an in-depth presentation from our speaker today, Mr. Akela. Followed by that, we will also take up question and answers. Okay, great. Nice to see some responses. I'll read this out for the rest. Mr. Nandu says, would like to understand what impact GST regime has made on businesses compared to VAT system. Okay. Mr. Girish says how technology has evolved under GST when compared to erstwhile legislation. Nice. Good to see some responses already. Can we see a few more responses, guys? Thank you. We have from Mr. Praveen, 4 year GST audit that the department has started, how to be prepared for it. Okay. Good to see the responses. So I think we will start off in the next 2 to 3 minutes. Thank you all for your patience. Okay. Thank you all for your patience. Once again, very good afternoon. Okay, Mr. Rohit has mentioned his query. I will just read this out as we go on with the session. Once again, very good afternoon to everyone. I hope my voice is loud and clear for me to go forward. My name is Siddharth. I handle product marketing and web solutions, the company that I represent, and I also will be your moderator for the day. With me is also our chief speaker and tax veteran, Mr. Akela A.S. Prakasha Rao. I will introduce him as the session proceeds. He will be the chief speaker for today. He will also have a presentation on the evolution on GST over 6 years, followed by which we will take up a brief question and answer session as well. Thank you. So before we go forward, I would like to run through a very quick company presentation, followed by which I will introduce our speaker and hand it over to him. So Web Solutions, the company that I represent, we are a 23-year-old company as of today. We were in fact part of Wipro back in 1988. We were manufacturing DMPs, that is dot matrix printers. And we were also manufacturing toners and cartridges for the same printers. And 2000, we became a separate entity. That is, we came out of Wipro and we formed as a separate company, that is Web Solutions, which is today. Today, we have multiple solution offerings. We also have digital workflow enterprise solutions for organizations, aside the printer solution that we offer. So our whole idea is our portfolio of services that we have is to drive workplace productivity. So everything and anything that we have today on our portfolio is a derivative of workplace productivity. Moving on, there are a few more slides which I'd like to show you. As I mentioned, we have close to 23 years of industry experience. We have about 500 to 530 enterprise customers, and we are present in over 2,000 locations in India. We were even recently awarded the Company of the Year Award 2022 by CIO Tech Outlook Review. Okay, so this is our solution lineup. We have managed print services. We also have the digital transformation, the workflow automation solution, as I mentioned, under which we also have a GST solution on offer. And our business also caters to the retail industry as well. So before we move in with a few more slides, let me explain the solutions that we have on offer. As I mentioned, we have managed print services, which is essentially printer management service that we offer, as the name suggests. What we do here is we offer asset management for enterprise customers. Basically, what we do is we will basically offer to manage your assets, the number of printers that you have. We will also be able to add new printers based on your requirement, and we will take care of service, support. We will also be able to handle your toner cartridges. All of that will be taken care of. And we will charge you on a pay per print basis. What that means is based on the number of papers you print, we will charge you on that end. We are also known as India's #1 MPS company. Moving to serial number 2, we are RICO's authorized distributor in India. So RICO, to give you a background, is a Asian giant for printer manufacturing. So we hold about 10-15 printers that is RICO branded on our portfolio. Moving to serial number 3 on the digital transformation end. So what we have here is basically a GST solution. I'm sure the ones who have attended previous webinars will know this. We have a one-stop all-in-one solution for GST filing reconciliation. The solution also holds modules for e-way bill generation, e-invoice generation. We take care of data preparation. We have close to 50-60 templates for your data preparation. And we also undertake ERP integrations such as SAP, Oracle, Microsoft Dynamics, NetSuite, and other API integrations. Aside this, we also have a dedicated team in-house which takes care of managed GST filing. And we are also hold the license called GSP, that is GST Suvidha Provider. We are appointed by the government. Moving to serial number 4, we have a document management solution which works like your cloud Google Drive sort of a solution, with which we can also provide workflow automation for your existing business processes. And lastly, we have a retail billing solution on offer as well. These are some of our clients. Once again, thank you all for joining, audience. I got a few more responses on the chat. Good to see them. Okay. So before I introduce my speaker and also read out the other inputs on the chat, I would like to launch a quick poll. So we will not be showing a demo or anything as such due to time constraints, and also because this is an exclusive webinar with Mr. Akela. I would like to launch a quick poll for all of you, which I usually do in every webinar. I would just like to know if you are currently exploring any GST or managed GST outsourcing sort of solutions for your company. If you are interested to see what we have on offer, we would be able to arrange a free demo as per your requirement. Based on your time and availability, we'll be able to arrange a free demo of our solution. So I will leave this poll on for the next 1 minute. Okay, thank you all for your inputs. I'll end the poll right now. All right. Okay, I'll leave it on for the next 10 seconds. I see a few of them responding. All right. Thank you all for your inputs. Let me end the poll. So before I head forward, I would like to, okay, I see Mr. Guru Prasad has raised his hand. Mr. Guru Prasad, let me know if there's anything I can help you with. If you can mention on chat, I will be able to help you with that. Okay, moving forward. Now, without any further ado, I'd like to introduce our speaker. But before I do that, I'll quickly read out the other inputs I got on chat from Mr. Rohit. My query is on GST on secondment, where company has paid GST and filed complaints with department based on Honorable Supreme Court ruling. However, what should be the stand on interest and penalty? What will be the credit status if interest is not paid? And another query from Mr. Jitendra, why government has shifted from production-based tax from consumption-based tax, meaning GST will be transferred to GS consuming state. Okay, great. Good to see the responses. We will definitely attend to this as the session proceeds. Okay, thank you all. Thank you all for the responses. I will head forward with the introduction of our speaker for the day, Mr. Akela S. Prakasha Rao. Mr. Akela is an independent indirect tax advocate. He graduated in 1989 from BITS Pilani, that is Birla Institute of Technology. He is also a gold medal holder who completed LLB from Andhra University in the year 2001. Mr. Akela is also a certified fraud examiner as well, but currently not active. He worked in the CBIC, that is Central Board of Indirect Taxes and Customs, from the years 1994 to 2008. His work experience also continued for KPMG Bangalore from 2008 to 13. His other major stints were with Toyota Kirloskar Motor, Bidadi, from February 2013 to November 2016. And lastly, Biocon from November 2016 to June 2021. Mr. Akela is a member of Indirect Tax Committee of various trade bodies like BCCI, CII, FICCI, and so on. He's also an active article writer in various forums such as TIOL, Tax Sutra, on various tax issues. Mr. Akela is not only an active speaker for us on a monthly basis, but he is also a speaker and panelist on various other forums in order to discuss indirect tax matters. Mr. Akela comes with more than 28 plus years of experience in the field of indirect taxes with exposure in government, consultancy, and other industry verticals like auto and pharma. He is currently practicing as an indirect tax advocate, assisting several number of clients on all aspects of indirect taxes at various levels. I take great pleasure in introducing him on yet another webinar. In fact, I have lost count as to how many webinars we've been doing. There was a time when I did have a count. I take great pleasure. I'm sure the audience is looking forward to directly hearing from you, sir. I hand it over to you. Thank you, sir.
Thanks, Siddharth, for those kind words. And thank you, participants, for taking time out to join this session today. There are two persons who have raised their hands. Maybe that I will attend to your queries at the end of the session. And similarly, if any others are having any kind of queries, my request is to post that in the Q&A box rather than the chat box, because they may get mixed with other conversation. But nevertheless, that we will try to address all the queries that have come even in the chat box also. Okay, so today's session is on the eve of the completion of, we are about to complete 6 years of introduction of the GST, because GST was introduced on 1st of July 2017, you know it, and it is a tectonic change. Yes, some people are asking like what is the difference between the erstwhile tax system and the current one. That's an interesting thing, that after 6 years that we are not able to realize that what is the change that has come in our lives, because it is impacting each and every person. So definitely that we will touch upon all those issues now. So in order to cater to the requirement of the expectations of the audience, that I am again touching upon the basic framework of the GST at a very high level. And some of the settled legal positions I am giving it in with a particular mindset, that why I am taking up only these cases. You may ask that I am not discussing all the important judicial decisions that have come in the recent years, or in these 6 years of introduction of the GST. But I'm having a clear direction in my mind that what this session is addressing towards, and then some of the pending clarity issues at various forums, and what is there in store, and then I will be attending to your queries. So this is going to be the agenda for this today's session. Next slide, please. Yeah. So goods and service tax has been introduced effective 1st of July 2017. So there are two main components in the case of supply within the state, you know it, that either it will be CGST, SGST if it is a normal state, but if it is a union territory, then it is going to be CGST and UTGST. And IGST gets levied in the case of interstate supply, which is almost equal to the combination of CGST and SGST. Of course, that there are other components like cesses and others, but mainly it is going to be the two levies is what we are talking about, because you know it that a GST is an amalgamation of the earlier taxes which are levied separately by the state government and the central government. So the states have foregone their right to tax the commodities, and the center has foregone their right to tax the services, and they have merged their rights, and then GST has come into the picture. So it is really a great change from the system in which that we used to live in the past and what we are seeing today. Of course, there are some commodities which are kept outside the GST, like you know that alcohol for human consumption, petroleum products like petroleum crude, motor spirit, aviation fuel and all, and HSD and natural gas and aviation turbine fuel and the electricity. These are kept outside, but with an option that the central government, the GST council can take a decision when to bring these commodities also into the GST purview. So that option is already being made. And the concept of reverse charge mechanism is continuing in the GST. So this is one phenomena which has come in after the introduction of the service tax in India, that the tax is called reverse charge mechanism, where the person who is receiving the services, in addition, is also going to comply with the payment of tax obligation, but it's going to be cost neutral to him. That's a separate matter, but it requires its own compliances. And then the composition scheme is also available, that you know that the composition dealers cannot charge tax on their supplies, and he is not entitled for any kind of input tax credit, and he cannot make the interstate supplies. And a small favor given to him is 10% of his turnover can be for the supply of services, because predominantly a composition dealer is supposed to deal in goods only, but 10% of his turnover can be in the form of services. And the threshold limit is 1.5 crores. If your turnover doesn't exceed, then you can opt for this composition, and RCM will be applicable for them for their receipt of supplies wherever the RCM is leviable. Next slide, please. So advance taken for supply of goods, if the advance has been taken between the period starting from the introduction of the GST till 13th October 2017, then a registered person has to pay taxes on these advances. But if it is taken between the period 14/10/17 to 15/11/2017, then only the registered person whose aggregate turnover is above 1.5 crores in the preceding financial year or during the year in which he has taken the registration, as the case may be, need to pay the tax. But if it is taken after, then there will be no tax at all. So the taxpayer will be liable to pay the tax only at the time of issuance of the invoice. But advances taken for supply of services are always taxable right from the inception of the GST. And advance received is always considered to be inclusive of GST if you are not showing it separately. And if the tax rate would not be determined at the time of receipt of advance, then the default rate will be 18%. And the advance received can be adjusted by a credit note or a debit note at the time of finalization of the bills. And RCM is applicable on the URD purchases, but government has notified certain supplies for this RCM liability. And ITC is available on all eligible supplies used for business, but there are conditions on such eligibility. There are restrictions on ITC when the payments are not made against the supplies within the prescribed timelines. So these are some of the basic things on which there's a lot of debate. You may be seeing that these are simple pointers that I have placed before you, but each of these bullet items have led to some case law or some dispute in some place. For example, I'll take a simple example. The last point, there are restrictions on the ITC and the payments are not made against the supplies within the prescribed timeline. This 180 days timeline. So commercially, if you have agreed with the supplier that you are going to make the payment within 1 year for the supplies that you have received, but you will be foregoing your input credit, because the timelines given under the law are that you should have settled the bill within 180 days along with the GST applicable thereon. But if it is not done, then ITC is going to be the cost to you, that you have to forego the ITC with applicable interest. And as and when you are going to make the payment, then you can re-avail the credit. But this is all a cumbersome process. But why at all the government is coming into the picture and putting this kind of restrictions, one may wonder. But that's the reason, because is that at some point that they have to decide whether the credit is to be given to the party or that they can appropriate this tax. So in an uncertain world that you cannot work, that is the reason that they have brought this legislation. Of course, it is causing its own problems, that in some of the cases that it is becoming an onerous obligation to be fulfilled. But nevertheless, that we got to see how in the coming days it turns out to. So each of these bullet points have got their own litigation around them. So, this in a nutshell will give you that what is the kind of a change that we are seeing. Now, there is no difference between goods and services, they may say, the lawmakers, but the drawback option is available for the goods exported. But when services are exported, then also if the drawback of the embedded taxes is not refunded to you, then you will be certainly exporting the taxes also, because that's somewhere that the business has to realize the costs. But unfortunately, that kind of a change was not yet brought in. So there are some gaps in the legislation also, which over a period of time, maybe that the trade and industry has to take it up strongly, and maybe the government also has to realize, and then they have to fill in those gaps. So we will see how it's going to, because that today's the concentration of this session is on some of the very important point, which is going to be useful for everyone. So the next slide, please. So some of the legal positions on some contentious issues that I'm going to discuss by taking some case laws which are settled already. So the point is whether carrying a physical copy of invoice is mandatory or the soft copy is good enough. So this has been a matter of contention before the Calcutta High Court. So in the matter of JK Jain Buildtech India Limited versus the Assistant Commissioner, So the Honorable Court observed that the expression used in the heading of Rule 138A is clear that documents and devices to be carried by a person in charge of the conveyance included under Subrule 1A, the invoice. Hence, invoice is a must that it should accompany the goods. It is also observed that it is a trait that the provision in a taxing statute has to be construed strictly and no benevolent interpretation is available while construing taxing statute. When the said provision specifically provided for that documents and devices to be carried by the person in charge of a conveyance, including the invoice, this clearly means that the invoice has to be carried in physical form and if required, shall be produced in its physical form. So it is a very, very important observation by the court. However, that there are gaps which we will discuss. However, it may be noted that in case of an e-invoice, it would suffice if the QR code having the invoice reference number is produced electronically for verification by the proper officer, and attention is invited to Rule 138(2), which provides as follows. In case invoice is issued in the manner prescribed under Subrule 4 of Rule 48, quick response code having an embedded invoice reference number in it may be produced electronically for verification by the proper officer in lieu of the physical copy of such tax invoice. So this is what distinguishes this case. I do not know why this point was not brought to the attention of the court. So it is not mandatory that you need to have a physical copy of the invoice while supplying the goods, but you can do away with it provided that you have a IRN QR code carrying an IRN. So the latest announcement that e-invoice has been made mandatory for all those registered persons having aggregate annual turnover above 5 crores effective 1st of August 2023 will ease the position and physical invoice need not accompany when the e-invoice with QR code is produced electronically. So this particular decision is going to be nullified over a period of time. So it may not have too much of a longevity as far as its jurisprudence is concerned. So why that we are discussing this particular issue means how the digitization has permeating into your lives while dealing with the GST that you need to understand. Because the important thing in the GST is to make a supply and the profits to be accrued to you. So if you are not complying with the conditions therein, then it will lead to problems and then it will lead to litigation also. So this is what that one needs to understand from this decision. So I am going to touch upon some more decisions in the coming slides. Next slide, please. So on 24 June 2019, the Gujarat High Court in the case of AAP has given a landmark ruling that form GSTR 3B is not a return. Rather, it is not a return specified for section 39 in form GST is a return. So the court observed and held that the return in 3B is only a temporary stopgap arrangement till due date of filing of return in 3 is notified. So the problem is that when the GST has been designed and it is conceived at the time of introduction, they thought that GSTR 1 followed by 2 and then 3, how this is how the returns are going to be. But because of some practical constraints, the government could not roll out the scheme as intended, and as an interim measure, in order to make the payments on a regular basis, that they have introduced an interim return called GSTR 3B. So this matter has gone to the court and the court has clearly held that 3B is a temporary stopgap arrangement, but it is not a return prescribed under the law. So in order to overcome this kind of a ruling, on 28th October 2021, in the Bharti Airtel case, the 3-judge bench of the Supreme Court has expressly overruled the Gujarat High Court decision and held that 3B is a return prescribed under the GST law. So in the matter of KA International, that section 37 onwards till 48, falling under the chapter 9, and entitled returns proceeds on the basis that various forms prescribed for filing by the SSE, either setting out details of inward or outward supplies or tax credit, would all constitute returns. And it also observed inter alia that section 39 refers to a return of inward and outward supplies of goods or services or both, and the return of outward supplies is in the form of GSTR1. So the Honorable High Court therefore concluded that the argument that GSTR1 only deals with details and hence would not constitute a statutory return is unacceptable and contrary to the scheme of the Act. So in this particular case, the court held that GSTR1 is also a prescribed return under the GST law. So these rulings make it very clear that the statutory returns prescribed under the GST law have a legal backing, and they are needed to be complied with at all times by all the members registered under these GST provisions. So this is not the end of it, that you know it, how many kinds of returns that the GST has asked you to furnish. So all these returns are having a statutory backing. So don't ever be lax on your compliances. Next slide, please.
Yeah, sir, before you head to the next slide, I'll just launch one poll.
Sure. Go ahead.
Okay. Audience, I hope you're able to see this. Do you think the proposed pre-filled returns will ease the compliance or not? So I'll leave this poll on for the next 1 minute. I'd like to see if we can get all of them to respond. Maximum response would be appreciated. Also, I think, yeah, good to see the questions on the Q&A tab. We will take this up as the session proceeds. So as Mr. Rakela mentioned, towards the end of the session, once the slides are over, we will only take up the queries. So we will answer all of that at that time.
Very interesting that Siddharth is sharing this kind of a poll appropriately at this point of time.
Yeah.
So this is something which the government is now proposing on the lines of annual information scheme, that statement which was introduced in the direct taxes. While filing your income tax return, that you can download the AIS, which will have all your banking transactions, your TDS, the taxes paid in advance, and things like that. So with the help of that, you will be in a position to file your income tax return in a better fashion. So the same thing that they are looking to introduce in the GST also. So do you think that it is going to solve your problem? Because I tell you, the basic difference between income tax law and the GST is GST, you have got monthly return filing exercise. But whereas in the income tax, it is an annual exercise for which ample time is provided to you. But unfortunately, in the GST, it is a few days is only at your disposal to file your return. So in such a scenario, if it is a pre-filled return, maybe it will help some, but not everybody. So let us see what, so you are thinking that it will help.
Yeah,
okay, let's hope so.
78% of them think that yes, it is.
Let's hope so.
All right. Okay. So I'll stop sharing. Sir, over to you. I'll go to the next slide.
Yeah. So the burden of proving the genuineness of the input tax credit is on the recipient is what was held in the Supreme Court decision in the matter of Ecom Coffee Trading Private Limited versus the state of Karnataka. In this particular case, though the ruling is for the previous period when the VAT laws are in operation, but not in the GST regime. But definitely the essence of the Supreme Court decision is going to be applicable, because what the Supreme Court has held that burden of proving the correctness of the input tax credit claim is on the purchasing dealer. So this ruling is also held in the event of non-payment of tax by the selling dealer. The purchasing dealer has to produce not only the purchase invoices and proof of payment made to the supplier, but also other additional documents such as name and address of the selling dealer, details of the vehicle that delivered the goods, payment of freight charges, acknowledgement of taking delivery of the goods. See how many items that you need to be kept ready for availing the input credit on your invoice. So this is what is the complexity that I am trying to impress on you that the GST has brought in. So this above ruling reinforces the importance of maintenance of proper records and documents in support of the purchases. Copies of EVA bills, transporter receipts, and etc. should be maintained along with the purchase invoices. Even in cases where the purchase invoices are not reflected in PA to B, these supporting documents will be helpful in substantiating the genuineness of the ITC claim in any legal proceedings. This ruling emphasizes the need that industry has to embrace digitization in a large way in order to comply with all such onerous compliances, as the departmental audits under the GST can happen with much delay, and GST tribunals are not yet constituted as on date. Hence, the records are to be kept for longer duration till the matters are amicably settled in litigation. See, this is what is the message that I just wanted to bring your attention to. Because that you are working in the GST in your respective organizations are advising the clients in their GST related matters. But we cannot survive only for the day. When you look at the longer term, then it becomes an onerous responsibility to keep track of these many things, because every invoice that you will have so many things: address of the selling dealer, details of the vehicle, payment of freight charges, acknowledgement for taking the delivery, etc., etc. All these details, that how are you going to keep track of these much of an information, that too in an evidential manner, so that it can be furnished as and when the department wants to visit it. Now, one of the persons who is attending their session today is asking that what should be our preparation when the audits are happening after a delay of 4 years. Yeah, certainly. After so much of a delay, when the audits are taken up and they are going to question you for the past transactions, it will become really difficult for you to pull out the documents, or to from your memory, to call out the entire story, that what exactly has happened on that particular day, that why at all that you have deviated from the normal, and then you have adopted a particular way in which that you have claimed your credit or made payment of a tax. So for that reason, my humble submission to all of you is, think of going in for an automation, because that is the only thing that is going to solve your problems to a greater extent. Because once the data is available with you, then how to put the data in a form in which it makes sense for you as well as to the GST officer, that can be thought of as a next step. But when you do not have the basic documents or the information at your disposal, immediately as and when the officer wants to see the details of that particular transaction, then it will be difficult for you to seek additional time also, because the government, when the authorities are going to wake up and start making either a visit or undertake an investigation or take up an audit, then they will not give you the time. What they think, what they say is that you have enjoyed all the free time all these days. So when we are coming here, we are coming with a clear deadlines. Hence, you have to pass the orders also. So there are many adjudicating authorities who are not even giving the opportunity of personal hearing nowadays, that the matters are just being called for, and routinely that they are giving 3 personal hearing notices, and they will say that you have not turned up for the hearing, and they will pass the sumoto orders. Of course, these all can be challenged at a higher forums, but unfortunately in the GST, that you have got up to first appellate authority, the people are available. Of course, that they also are tend to go on transfers and all that. So if the hearing has happened, but you did not receive the order, but in the meanwhile, the adjudicating authority got transferred, then again, you will come back to the square one, and you have to appear for the hearing once again, and then you have to get the order from the new officer. So if such is the problem at the first level itself, think of that, is there any second level? Unfortunately, the tribunal is not in place. And as you know, that in the earlier regime also, that the tribunal was called as SEGAT, and later it has changed its name to SESTAT. So, but that SEGAT or SESTAT has been established in the year 1982, whereas the Central Excise Law is much older than that. So it took decades for them to create a tribunal at that point of a time. So there is no wonder that even after 6 years also, we do not have a tribunal in the GST. People are just wondering that how come the GST was introduced, but the tribunal was not constituted. But if they see the history in for the past legislation, and then it took 4 decades for them to set up the tribunal for the erstwhile laws also. So definitely this time the authorities are going to come back to you, and they will ask you for the past transactions. Then you should be in a position to answer them. So the only solution is, even if it costs you, but definitely in the long run, it is going to benefit the organization. So my take is that go for automation, because there are so many issues which are not settled, which are going to have a huge revenue impact on you, and which as and when they get settled, that if you have to pull out the past transactions and submit the data in order to claim your legitimate benefit as a result of a settlement of this litigation at a higher forums, then it will become a Herculean task for you also in the absence of automation and digitization. So my earnest request to all of you is go think of automation and digitization. That is the only way forward. And this is what was taught in during these 6 years, that what we also have seen, that is one solution that we must embrace immediately. Next slide, please. So uploading the orders on the common portal constitutes a proper mode of service. So Pandidurai Sethupathi Raja versus Superintendent of Central Excise, this decision by the Chennai High Court, this deals with a bunch of petitions filed against cancellation of the GST registration. In one such case, the petitioner has not filed appeal against the order of cancellation on the ground that it was not served through registered post or substitutes of service, but was uploaded in the GST portal. The petitioner claims that uploading of the order on the common portal doesn't amount to tendered, published, or affixed as provided under 169(2) of the CGST Act. So the Madras High Court has rejected this contention of the petitioner and held that making an order available in the portal would amount to tendering of that order to the recipient. Further, as per section 169(1)(d) of the CGST Act, making available an order, notice, etc. on the common portal is a valid service of such communication. You see this decision, sir. If the authorities want to interact with you, then if they leave the message in the GSTN portal, then if you did not open or respond to that communication, then you will be foregoing your right of appeal if you did not wake up within the time. So why the court has held in this way? Because previously there are until number of decisions wherein that they said that any notification has to come in the official gazette, and only after such publication it will have any kind of an effect. Similarly, a registered post under acknowledgement due is an evidence that the order has been served on a party. Such kind of decisions were there in the past. But after the advent of so much of a digitization and automation in the world, even the courts are also accepting this fact as something which is common, and hence they say that because for all your compliances, say for example, for uploading your sales in the form of a GSTR1, or for making any kind of a supplies that you will be hitting the portal for generating a e-invoice, or for producing a e-way bill, and subsequently that all these sales are going to be uploaded in the portal. So you are using the portal day in and day out. So if the communication is made available in the portal, they say that if it is effective delivery, hence we cannot allege that if something is not coming in the physical form, in the form of a speed post by the government of India and all that, that is not going to be a ground for us. Hence, the courts have accepted that automation and digitization are the norm. In some of the decisions, they have also held that the summons or intimations regarding some of the information sought by them, if it is communicated through the means of WhatsApp, followed by the physical copy delivery, is good enough. So one must be very careful that while dealing with the GST, that you can't be in the older regime with that old thought process in mind, but you have to be very active and very agile. Next slide, please. So Supreme Court has held service of orders through social media platforms is not a valid mode of service, and they cannot be held as primary evidence as per the Evidence Act. However, the Supreme Court has agreed that summons and notices can be served using such platform, and it can be considered as a valid mode of service. See, this is what that they said as per the Evidence Act, it may not be appropriate, but certainly that they say that it is a valid mode of service. So, in the case of cognizance for extension of the limitation, the Supreme Court has observed that service of notices and summons and exchange of pleadings and documents is a requirement of virtually every legal proceeding, and that the service of notices and summons and pleadings, etc., have not been possible during the period of lockdown, because this involves visits to the post office, courier companies, or physical delivery of notices, summons, and pleadings. So the court therefore considered it appropriate to direct that such services may be effected by email, fax, commonly used instant messaging services such as WhatsApp, Telegram, and Signal. However, if such services are made by means of said instant messaging services, then in addition to thereto, the service of the same document must be made via the email on the same day to the recipient. So this is what is the important observation, that the Supreme Courts are also amending their decisions of the past in tune with the technological advancements that we are having in the society as on today. Next slide, please.
Yeah. So, sir, let me just launch another poll.
Yeah, sure.
Followed by that, I can go to the next slide. Okay. Yeah. And next poll is launched for all of you. I hope you're able to see it. Do you think that the GST tribunal will be a reality in the near future? I will leave this on for the next 1 minute. And I also see a few more queries incoming. Okay. Okay. Yeah, we will take this up shortly. We are almost done, in fact. Okay, audience, I will also be redirecting all of you to another poll. Let me just quickly share that as well. Just give me 1 minute.
But what is the outcome of this poll?
Yeah, I will just share the result right away. I think we're almost done. I see a few more responding. Okay, let me just share the results, sir. So a majority of them, again, we have a 78-22. 78% of think that yes, it will be a reality in the near future.
So we have got many optimists among us.
Looks like it, yeah.
Yeah, let us think positive.
Yeah, and let me just quickly stop sharing this. Audience, I would request all of you to quickly open your chat box. I'll be pasting a link there, which will redirect you to our LinkedIn page. Request all of you to respond to that poll quickly. And you can take about 10 seconds there, which will redirect you, and then you can come back to this window. So we have launched a rather generic mass poll over there, which I would request all of you to respond and come back to our page. So we actually keep putting GST updates on a weekly basis. So those of you who would like to see that can definitely follow us as well. Audience, let me know once you're done. You can probably mention a done or something on chat so that I can hand it over to Mr. Akela right after that. Okay, thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Okay, I see Mr. Nandu and Ms. Ripple who's responded. Okay, great. That was quick. Okay. Yeah, thank you. I think I got a couple responses already. Mr. Akela, over to you. I'll go to the next slide.
Yeah. So some of the important decisions which are pending, which are having some huge amount of revenue attached to that also, that I am touching upon. So availability of the ITC on the mobile property is pending with the Supreme Court in the matter of Safari Retreats case. The Orissa High Court has delivered a landmark decision on 17th April 2019, saying that they have read down the sections 17(5)(d) of the CGST Act and held that ITC cannot be denied on the GST paid on goods and services are both received for construction of an immovable property that is let out or rented out. See, Karnataka High Court decision in the matter of Columbia Asia Hospitals held that employees of the head office cannot be treated as employees of the branch office situated in a different state or registered as a distinct entity under the CGST. And similarly, the employee relation cannot be attributed to them in order to seek exemption from payment of GST as provided under Schedule 3 of the CGST Act, which exempts the levy of GST on services rendered by an employee to his employer as part of his employment contract and in the course of his employment. So such service by the head office employees to the branch offices were taxable, and the matter is currently pending in the Supreme Court. And a similar matter, I think that one of the participants is raising a query that in case of the secondment of the employees, what needs to be done in light of the Supreme Court decision? Is it sufficient that if we make the payment of the tax to stop the interest clock, whether this credit can be availed by us? So this is also another contentious issue that we have. Yes, the next slide, please. So the Supreme Court stated the imposition of the GST and the royalty paid on mining rights given to the petitioner by the GST at the rate of 18% is imposed on the royalty given to the state government for mining rights, while the rate schedule was earlier amended to impose GST and the royalty from January 1st, 2019. But the TRU of the CBIC clarified that tax would be made applicable from 1st of July 2017 and between that period, December 31st, 2018 also. So, but whether royalty is a tax to be or not is to be decided by a 9-member bench of the Supreme Court. Similarly, the tax rate on the online gaming platform is a contentious issue wherein the government is filing appeal in the Supreme Court against the Karnataka High Court decision in the matter of Gamescraft. So this you all must have noticed that it has hogged the limelight in the past 1 month that whether online gaming is subject to GST, and if so, then what valuation needs to be considered for discharging the taxes. So this may decide the issue of the game of skill and a game of chance and also the tax rate applicability. So, but the ensuing GST Council may deliberate on this issue, or they may take a position that since the government is going in for an appeal before the Supreme Court against the Karnataka High Court decision, that they may take the position that the matter is sub judice, hence they do not want to give their decision on it. So these are all high stakes litigations where the clarity is pending for the SSCs to go ahead. Next slide, please. So what is there in store for us? A clear direction is set now that all supplies under the GST will be against the electronic invoicing in the coming days. So the reporting of the same has to be in the real-time basis. You might have noticed that there was a communication by the GST portal that all invoices are to be reported on the portal within 7 days for all those whose annual aggregate turnover is more than 100 crores. Of course, because of some other reasons that they have deferred this particular implementation of this decision by a 3 months period. But in the coming days, that you can be very sure that it is going to be a real-time intimation onto the GST portal that you may not get the time luxury of deferring it. And rate rationalization is a continuous exercise for the GST Council because several committees have sat on this issue. That last committee was headed by our ex-Karnataka Chief Minister also, but they were not in a position to give any kind of a report before their tenure. So, but we need to be very careful to distinguish between interstate and intrastate supplies to charge the correct taxes. Otherwise, unnecessarily we'll end up in huge litigations. And increasingly, compliances are becoming more and more complex. Hence, embracing digital technologies is the need of the hour. So this is precisely the point that I am making time and again, because that though the government is coming to your rescue by introducing pre-filled tax returns, but if you see that the GSTR1 has to be filed on or before 10th of the subsequent month. So if the pre-filled GSTR1 is made available to you on say 5th or 6th, because why I'm giving so much of a time is that whatever the transactions that you have done at the end of the month, even if we consider the latest announcement that there is a 7-day period for you to report in the invoicing portal, that by 7th of the subsequent month, if you have reported all those transactions which took place on the last day of the month also, only realistically on 7th or 8th, that you will get the pre-filled GSTR1. So if you have got any kind of a problem with the pre-filled GSTR1, then there is a set procedure that how you have to go in for an appeal and how that they are going to react to it. And then the matter gets settled before 10th of the next month is something which we need to see, because that they are promising, but we do not know whether a quick decision will be taken at the officers level and immediately they will revert with a solution, and which is going to be acceptable to us. Because if you don't accept or reject, whatever it may be, but on 10th, you are supposed to file your return. If you miss the timeline, then there are huge penalties leviable on you. So in such a scenario, I'm wondering whether such a kind of an exercise, to what extent it is going to help. But many optimists among us are thinking that these pre-filled returns are going to help them in a large way, which is a very positive side. Let us hope so. Why not? That why we should think negative always. Similarly, 2A, 2B RICO is going to be made available to you on or before 15th of every month. So after that, you are hardly left with 5 days time to finalize your 3B. But if you find any kind of a mistakes, now itself that we are struggling a lot in order to claim such disputed ITC. So if pre-filled returns are made available also, then whether it is going to really help us is something that we need to wait and watch. It is always suggestible to have a complaint supply chain that all vendors and customers on the same platform. Hence, wherever it is possible, they need to be encouraged to onboard the same digital platform so that exchange of information would be easier. So this is another point. The government has said that they are going to introduce some complaints ratings, but unfortunately that they have not done it due to some privacy reasons. So the ambitious announcement on the complaints rating was made by the GST due to privacy concerns. It may not be realized in the near future. Hence, SSCs need to be vigilant to deal with only complaint suppliers and customers. So how are you going to find out that whether the suppliers and customers are going to be complained? Because if everybody uses their own ways of uploading the information, then if it is accurate and the portals through which that they are uploading this information has done enough diligence in order to accept the data, and they have suggested whether it is a complaint data or not, then it is going to be a big problem. Because even if when you are reporting a invoice also, that if you have not put the correct the number in the correct format, then it may lead to problems. So one needs to be very careful while uploading the information, and those who are doing it manually are at more risk. And if such an element is there in our supply chain, definitely that guy will cause a problem for you, because that when you are doing the reconciliation, there appears to be some difference. And when you try to understand that where from this difference is originated, it will take its own time. But if your entire supply chain is on the same portal, and if they are using the same service provider, then all the more it becomes easy. Now, I do not know whether you are aware or not, many of the auto companies who are working in just-in-time process, that they are asking their entire supply chain to be on the digitization mode, and they are asking them to automate their return process, so that the minute they generate the e-invoice, it gets communicated, and the document verification, whether it is in sync with the purchasing order or not, all these verifications will be done before the actual goods are received at their end. And once the goods are received at their end, they will do only the quality verification and the quantity check. And if everything is fine, then the goods are going to be accepted, and the necessary postings will be made in the records. So this is going to help in the long way. That is the reason I'm suggesting that it is better that you have a complaint supply chain with you. There will be integration of various online complaints platforms under the indirect tax laws. like GSTN, SEZ Online, DGFT portal, IceGate, etc. in the coming future, because the government has already initiated the pilot projects and some of the activities are already underway, and they have taken enough information also from the stakeholders that how it should be done. So this is what is going to be the future, that all these online compliance portals are going to be under one single umbrella. So in such a scenario that you cannot change your position taken in respect of a transaction before these many various authorities. So you have to be very careful about that aspect also. Hence, every SSE must be geared up to meet this challenge within their organization internally to bring all stakeholders together. So you cannot say that my supply chain has given some information on the IceGate portal while doing export, but in the GST that I am taking a different kind of a position. It will not be okay, because when the systems are going to be integrated, the minute you do some kind of a declaration in one portal, immediately its reflection will be there on the other compliances also, and automatically it will be shown in that particular way only. So you cannot change your stand also. Hence, when the portals are going to be integrated, then our line of thinking internally has to be integrated, and one position only has to be there. And audits will take place after considerable lapse of time for the past period, and keeping track of the documents will be a Herculean task. Hence, it is advised that all records may be maintained in digital mode so that retrieval will be easier when needed. So this is what is the point that I am trying to direct you at during this. This is the purpose of this webinar today, that all these case laws, what they are suggesting is even the courts are ready to accept this automation and digitization and the modern way of communication. So if the industry is not going to gear up, then it is going to be a glaring gap between the industry's preparedness and the authorities' expectations. So even the revenue authorities are also going in a large way for the automation and digitization. Hence, the SSCs have to gear up, and they have to think very seriously of going in for an automation and digitization of the records and the transactions, and ease your compliance burden, and retrieval, archiving of a data, retrieving of the information as and when it is required will be easier for you, and you will be better placed to face audits or investigations or any kind of an inquiries in the future with the lapse of time also. So with these things, I think that I'm coming to an end of my presentation for today. And there are a couple of ways. I think certainly on the points that we have deliberated today, that there can be some more also from the audience. So I would be happy to either interact with them directly, or if the queries are already posted either in the chat box or in the Q&A, that I am going to answer them one after the other. And anybody who is having any queries but to ask again, that there will be an opportunity given to them also.
Sure.
So Siddharth, shall we move to the QA?
Yeah, we can move to the QA, sir. I'll take up the Q&A tab first, and then there are some on chat also.
Yeah, so we'll complete that chat so that everybody can place their queries in the Q&A.
Okay, so we'll complete chat then. So I'll read out, sir, from Mr. Praveen. Actually, I've scrolled all the way up. 4-year GST audit that the department has started, how to be prepared for it?
I think by the end of the session that you must have had the answer. So my only submission is that go for automation, go for digitization. So there are service providers who can retrieve your past data that you have filed with the portal, and they can keep those archives ready for you as and when you want, that you can access them and you can download those reports, because GSTN portal is also giving you a limited time period within which that you can retrieve the information filed with them. So if you are with these service providers, then they will be able to help you to pull out the past data also. But if you delay too much, even for them also, it will be a Herculean task. So my earnest request to you is to go for automation and digitization.
Yeah. So next question is from Mr. Rohit. My query is on GST secondment, where company has paid GST and filed complaints with department based on Honorable Supreme Court ruling. However, what should be the stand on interest and penalty? What will be the credit status if interest is not paid?
Sir, once the tax is paid, then itself that the debate will start that when you have paid it for the past period, whether credit is going to be available to you or not. So irrespective of whether you pay the interest or not, because in the ITC availment provisions that they never told that unless you pay the interest, the credit cannot be availed as a, you cannot avail the input credit. No such kind of a linkage is there with your penalty and the interest. So the minute you pay the tax, you are freezing the interest clock, and whether that credit itself is going to be eligible in your hands because that you are paying it for the past period. But as per the law, it says that the credit has to be taken on or before they have given certain events, that date of filing of your annual return, etc., etc. So when it is not happening for in such a scenario, that itself is a debatable issue. So there is no linkage between interest or penalty payment with the ITC, but definitely yes, the tax for the past period when you pay it, whether it is you are entitled for a credit, is itself is a debatable question.
Okay. Next question from Mr. Jitendra. Why government has shifted from production-based tax? That is why government has shifted to production-based tax from consumption-based tax.
Consumption-based tax. See, the
Yeah.
point is that production may not be there to the extent that we consume, because it is not that the domestic production only gets consumed within the country, that we import also. Similarly, if you go back to the erstwhile tax regime, in the VAT regime, that what is export in VAT regime? When you send goods from Karnataka to our neighbor Tamil Nadu, it is treated as export. So you can consume the produce from Tamil Nadu in Karnataka also. So if you tax only the production, what is happening? That wherever the production is more, only in those states, the tax will revenue will accrue. But when you shift your base from production to the consumption, because consumption can be from other sources also other than the production which happened in-house. So if you are bringing goods from Burma or Bangladesh or Pakistan or Sri Lanka and you are consuming it in India, then in India the tax revenue will increase, isn't it? So the why that they have shifted from production base to the consumption base is primarily because of this reason. And moreover, now we are in the age of consumerism, wherein that we are consuming more than what we are producing. Hence, the tax authorities have also realized that if you continue to levy taxes only on the production as the base, then the collections will be poor. That is the reason that they have shifted, and you might have seen the results also. Now, consistently, the GST revenues every month are clocking 1.5 lakh crores. This was never there in the past regime. Why? Because of this tectonic shift is what is the word that I have used at the beginning of this session, that from production that they have shifted the consumption in order to extract more tax revenue. So that's the reason. Next slide, please.
Yeah, I'll go to the next question. This is also there on the Q&A from Mr. Jitendra. Whether taxpayer is required to take GST registration for aggregate turnover of rupees 15 lakhs, having export of services of rupees 12 lakhs and interest income of rupees 3 lakhs.
See, somebody is having an export revenue of 12 lakhs and interest income of 3 lakhs, whether he needs to take a registration. Good. The thing is that when you are having an export, if you are interested to avail any kind of an export benefits, then yes, you need to take it. But if you are not interested in claiming any kind of an export benefits on your export turnover, then maybe that you can skip the registration. But definitely, my suggestion would be that whenever you are into the export, then it is always better that you go for a registration. because it will give you additional benefits in terms of the compliances and also that refund of your input costs. Yeah.
Okay. Mr. Jitendra, I hope that clarifies your doubt. I'll go to the next question from Mr. Girish.
See, from the answers that you are hearing from my end, if you have any kind of a supplementary queries also, you are most welcome. Please type them in the Q&A box so that we will come back again and we will answer that also.
Yeah. So a question from Mr. Girish. Audit officers are insisting on state level trial balance and financials. Is this required?
So I think that I have answered this query in one of the earlier sessions, wherein that if it is insisted on, yes, for their benefit, that they want that kind of a clarity, because that they are coming from the erstwhile VAT regime into this. So it will be difficult for them to, if you give them a consolidated balance sheet to figure out what numbers are pertaining to this particular state. Yes, but this is not in line with the ICAI guidelines which are issued, that the state level financials need not be prepared as per the ICAI guidelines, but the GST officers are insisting on it. So it's a practical difficulty. So I suggest that better not dispute with them to the extent possible that you prepare it. Yes, I also know that there are practical challenges that how to apportion certain expenditures. But to the extent possible that because GST has given ample clarity in the form of ISD, cross charge, so you can segregate. So what are they looking at is only on those aspects that where the ISD cross charges are involved, whether you have complied with the rules or not properly is what is their lookout from the state level financials. So if you are able to satisfy them with such an information, rather than sticking to the ICA guidelines of preparing a balance sheet and all that, is not required. But if it answers to their queries, that is good enough. But that kind of a document, yes, it in your own interest that you have to keep it ready.
Moving to the next question from Mr. Girish. Audit officers are insisting on state level trial balance and financials. Is this required?
Yeah, that I have answered.
Oh yeah, sorry. I think we just answered that. Yeah. From Ms. Ripple, if we have pan India balance sheet in this case at state level, what should we do?
Pan India balance sheet at state level.
Yeah.
I did not understand this.
Okay, Ms. Ripple, would you like to unmute and maybe explain this to Mr. Akela? We'll be able to do that. You can just give me a yes or no on chat. I'll be able to do that straight away. Okay. Okay, I will wait for that. Meanwhile, we can answer the next one. Mr. Sanjay, what are the common reasons of mismatch of 3B versus 2B? How can we draft reply to officer to understand the difference?
Sir, there is no universal medicine which can be prescribed for this, because that there can be thousands of reasons for mismatch between the 3B and 2B. So depending on the kind of a query that you have to suitably give the reply. So there is no generic reply template wherein that you simply change the dates and the amounts, because there are thousands of reasons why that these two would differ. So hence, depending on that particular reason only that you have to answer it, that you can't answer it in generic.
Okay. Next question again from Ms. Ripple. Why should we have to show the details of bills not booked of vendors in GSTR 3B?
Yeah, bills not booked means what? Whether supply is made or not. See, after doing the supply also, sometimes you don't want to book the bill for whatever may the commercial reasons that you have. But what GST is expecting, that the minute there is a taxable supply, that you have to generate an invoice, tax invoice for it. So there cannot be a delay once you have done the supply, because when you see, for example, in the case of services, maybe that you can take such a kind of a position that you render the service, and after that, with some time gap, that you will be generating the invoice. But at the time of supplying the goods, invariably that if the goods are subject to the e-way bill regulations also because of the amount involved and all that, then e-way bill gets generated. And if you are not supplementing it with the invoice, then what is the document on which e-way bill can be generated? Simply on the gate pass, if you do it, then if it is a taxable supply, can you do it with a gate pass? So you are going to violate several other conditions also. So you cannot take such a kind of a stand that if I don't book the bill, that why at all that I have to show those details in the 3B. So why you have to do it is because of this. And mind you that the government is going to come out with a pre-filled return wherein all your e-way bills, if they are based on your invoice, definitely the tax liability will be captured and it will be shown as payable by you in the pre-filled GSTR 3B. Then in such a scenario, how are you going to answer for all those line items will be a big question. So think twice before continuing with this kind of a practice. My suggestion to you is not to have such kind of a practices that differing the bills. You can defer the supply, but definitely once the taxable supply has happened, that you have to generate the necessary compliances under the GST.
Yeah. Also, I think Mr. Guru Prasad and Jayarajan had raised their hands.
Yeah, I'll come to that. There is a query from Chinmay Hegde that how will automation work with respect to reconciliation of the purchase register to be.
Okay.
Certainly, if you opt for a demo from web, that you can see that how they will do magic for you.
Yeah, for sure, Mr. Chinmay. I think we can reach out to you after the webinar.
Just spend some time.
Yeah.
Just have a demo. Then you see how the magic unfolds before you. Yes, it is really that automation and digitization will make your life so much easy. So my strong suggestion is at least give an opportunity for a demo so that you will get to know what exactly is there in store for you. And if you want any kind of a customization that there are people are there, that they will certainly cater to your requirement. All right. With that, I think that in the chat box that we have answered all the queries. Of course, there is one query whether export invoice also need to be e-invoice. The answer is yes, because any B2B supply has to be e-invoice. So I think that we missed out, but definitely that I'm covering that in the answer. Yeah. Now I'm coming to the Q&A box. How to complete two-way authentication for e-way bill and e-invoice? Can two mobile numbers be provided? These are all practical problems. Yes, you can take it up with the help desk and they will come to your rescue, sir. Certainly that they will be able to help you. Yeah.
Okay.
And then if you cannot identify our income from advance, are we supposed to pay GST? Sir, very puzzling. When you have received the advance, that itself is your income. How do you say that you cannot identify your income from the advance? Whatever advance you have received subjected to tax first, and there is an option under the law that you can adjust it at the time of finalizing, and whatever is your income, that will be only subjected to tax, and the balance tax, whatever you have charged, can be refunded. So there is a credit note, debit note approach. No? So certainly you can follow that. Anil, I think that I have answered you. And then Lakshmi madam, the vendor bill is charged as intra-state, whereas in our books accounted IGST. Is there any provision for this? There is no provision that you have to reverse that and then you have to again redo the billing. So credit note, debit note is the only option that you need to explore. Yeah. And then QR code is not available for restaurant B2C POS bills. Is this okay? Yeah, B2C bills, there is no requirement of QR code. So this is perfectly okay, sir. And Dohit is asking, tax rate is mandate in HSN document upload in GSTR 1. Yes. Tax rate is also required. Some states are issuing ASMT 10 and some states are issuing the ADT 01 and both are having similar questions and seeking similar information from the SSC. So why it is so? Can you please give more information on ASMT? Can we again ADT 01? Sir, this question is to the authorities, not to me. But if they are asking the same questions again and again, then certainly your life is easy that you can copy paste the answers. No. Is cross-charge mechanism is correct or ISD is correct? Which one we should follow if multiple registrations are in India? Sir, there is no straight answer to this question. But if you want any intellectual debate on this, that certainly in the web portal, there is one article by me on this particular issue. So where exactly that you have to adapt to the cross charge and where you have to go for the ISD, because the AR decision in Cummins by Mumbai AR and the Karnataka's decision are very well-reasoned decisions in this area, that where you have to do a cross charge and where you have to do an ISD. Just to answer your query in a nutshell, that I'll tell you that wherever you know prior to receipt of the services, because all this cross charge and ISD comes only in supply of services, but not in supply of goods. So wherever such a problem is there for you, that you know prior that this particular service is going to be used in multiple occasions, then you better always receive it at the ISD. So the PO has to be issued from your ISD account, and then it has to be accounted there in the ISD, and then from there that you distribute as per the consumption pattern. So that is what is ISD. Cross charge is something wherein that you have received it, but certainly it has to be charged in those particular locations also because of the company policy, that you are maintaining your accounts as per the profit centers, or that you want to evaluate whether one particular place that how much the expenditure incurred in a particular activity. In all such cases, the cross charge is the mechanism. So there is no straightjacket answer. Each and every transaction that you have to evaluate, but certainly ISD is something before receipt of the supply itself that you will be asked to take a decision. So unless you receive the invoice in the ISD, there is no way that you can distribute it. So if you have received something and then you want to do a cross charge, then you will be questioned by the authorities. So don't do such a mistake. And then when to account B2B e-commerce transaction, especially under SAP accounting software, and month close dot at 12 midnight. Yeah, of course. So in the SAP, when you are generating invoices, I don't think that there will be two timelines for recording the transaction or for issuing the document. So I don't think that there will be two different timelines which will have a problem. So another question is, many company executives come for lunch and they require GST invoice. So are you into the hotel industry, sir? So if they are coming for lunch and then they are asking for a GST invoice, then the company has to place the order that how that you can issue a GST invoice and in what way it is going to help them. Because consumption of food at an outlet outside the company canteen, all that is not creditable. So I do not know why that they are insisting on a GST invoice, which is not of any help for them. But you cannot issue a B2B invoice certainly if you are in the hotel industry. So it has to be a B2C only. And export invoice is mandatory to generate e-invoice. I have already answered it. Yes, because it is a B2B supply. So I think in the Q&A that I have completed everything. So Bhavesh has come back. Once ASMT 12, see rule 9911 issued by officer, there will not be GST audit under GST ADT 01 under rule 101. Please reply. So when you have given the decision, that what is there for me to reply again? I don't have anything further to add to whatever the comment that you have made, Bhavesh. If such is the situation, let it be so. Yeah. So any other queries that we have?
Yeah, I think, sir, we still have another 5 minutes.
Yeah.
So what I'm thinking is
Guru Prasad sir has raised his hand, but he did not come back.
Mr. Guru Prasad and okay,
only Guru Prasad is there now.
Yeah, anyone who would like to directly interact with Mr. Akela by unmuting your mic, I'll be able to do that. You just have to mention a yes or no. I think
Guru Prasad has dropped out.
Okay. No, he's still there, sir. He's still there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Then why he is not coming out with his query?
Okay. Anyone else? Anyone else who would like to interact directly? I can unmute and give permissions.
Yeah, Ravindra Gajali.
Okay, I will just Yeah. Mr. Ravindra, you can unmute now, I think.
Yeah, good evening, sir.
Good evening.
Sir, this is regards to the explanations what you given to the related to the cross charges and the ISDs. So right now we are following continuously from the second year of the GST implementations, only the cross charges from the HO level to the all the my states. So we are continuing the same thing. To what do you suggest, sir? Should we go move it to the from the cross charges to the ISD, or what would be the
As
best?
early as possible, sir. Because what you are doing is not correct. Because if you know very well that the particular service that you are receiving is going to be put to use in multiple locations, you go for an ISD registration, and then from there that you receive the invoice and distribute the credit.
Okay.
If you do a cross charge, then definitely it is going to lead to a lot of problems.
Okay, okay.
Because
So
I tell you, your transaction will be termed as a related party transaction.
Okay, okay.
Right. In such a scenario, what the authorities will say, whatever value that you are attributing to it, that they will say, no. Wherever you want the input credit, you are pushing that invoice to them.
Okay.
So again, you have to come out clean. It takes a lot of effort from your end to prove that you are not resorting to any shortcuts.
Okay, okay.
So if it is very clear for you that one particular service received at the head office is going to be utilized, put to use in several of the locations, you better take it under the ISD. Even PO has to be issued from the ISD registration only, and take that service in that ISD and then distribute.
Okay, okay, sir. Okay, sir. Thanks a lot, sir.
No.
And sir, related to this, recently we had an audit ADT1 at Hyderabad for 5 years.
Right.
And there we have by hook and crook we prepared the trial balance and give it to them.
Okay.
So by looking at what are the assets to be needed and the expenses related to the liabilities related to, we have matched to the 70% of it, because most of the things are common.
Correct.
So same scenario is happening with the other states also. So we can apply the same logic and give it.
Yeah, exactly. See, I'll tell you that it is not that they are insisting on a balance sheet as per the ICAI regulations. What they are looking at is that whether these cross charges and ISDs are properly followed by you or not is the only simple point what they want to see. So if you are able to satisfy them with proper answers for their queries, there will not be any insistence for a state level financial, and no auditor is going to certify that.
Correct, sir. Yes, sir. Yes. And it's a very cumbersome job,
Yes.
We need to line item was the trial balance. We have to keep the data each year. So we had a lot of, but we gone through very easily from the ADT1 successfully. So, but the same thing has been asked from the UP under the ASMT 10. So is it going to be again the 381, sir? If suppose they again ASMT has been order being passed again, they subject to audit again, sir?
Yeah. Why not? See, audit is not the end of your problems, sir. They can come out with a new observation and they can audit your accounts any number of times.
Oh my God. So even the ADT1 also, after ADT0.
There's no end for it.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
We thought that once it is
there is no law which says that a second audit cannot be done, right? They will always say that I am coming out with a new observation, hence I want the data. Similarly, an audit proposed by the SGST can be again proposed by CGST also for some other purpose. Not for the same reason, you cannot be pursued twice.
Okay.
For different reasons that you can be pursued any number of times.
And for the same year.
Yes, of course. For the same transaction also.
Oh my God. So it is an open headache for everyone.
Yeah, of course.
And like under income tax, you know that the assessment under 143 has been done, and it's only the search when it happens, then it only the case. Otherwise, they will not reopen it and re-ask the questions again and again. But here, if the ADT1 is the one final one.
There's nothing final in GST.
Oh my God.
See, that is why, sir, that why in this webinar, I did not teach you anything new, or I don't want to discuss also. All my effort is just to push you to think about automation and digitization, because these questions that you are answering after considerable lapse of time, wherein that you may not be able to recollect with your memory that what has happened.
Correct.
Or you may be a new tax head taken over very recently. So what is the stand taken by your predecessor? You do not know.
Correct. Correct.
So in all such cases, no, if recordedly, if the things are available to you in the digital form, then it makes sense for us.
Yes, sir. I do agree with you, sir.
Yes, sir.
Thanks a lot, sir, for your
No
information.
problem, sir. Anytime, most welcome. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you, sir.
Yeah, Lakshmi has also raised her hand.
Thanks for the participation, Mr. Ravindra.
Thank you very much for giving this opportunity to interact with Mr. Akela.
Pleasure, sir. Pleasure. Okay, I will just unmute Ms. Lakshmi. You can also talk. Ms. Lakshmi, you should be able to unmute.
Hi, sir. Good evening.
Yes, ma'am. Good evening.
Sir, actually, we have received one Tamil Nadu notice.
Hmm.
We have applied for 15 days, 1 month for timeline, but they have not given the 1 month timeline. They have said that they have given actually 15 days. And after that, again, we have given the letter to extension of 15 days. What they did, they have disabled the portal also, and they have not accepted that hard copy also. So what to do for, sir?
No, what for all these things have happened? You have sought a new registration?
No. This is
Then-
for audit.
Okay, audit that you sought time for submitting the information.
Yes, sir. Actually, they have asked for 5 years, sir. So 5 years we cannot give in one
See,
day.
ma'am,
So they
This
told
is
me-
precisely the point that I wanted to drive in this webinar. That when suddenly they'll ask for 5 years, that you think for 5 years that I have to pull data, hence I need time. But
Yes.
what is their view? That they have given 5 years time to you,
Okay.
right?
15
So when
15
they are
days
asking
we
you,
given the time.
why are you not able to give me the data? That's how that they will say.
Yes. Because
So-
sir, the problem is now we are handling this statutory audit also. So that's the reason we cannot work both. So that's the reason we need an additional 15 days.
No. You may be having justification on your side,
Yeah.
but they have their own justification. So there is no point in going into the merits of who is correct in this.
Okay.
So the only solution for it is that whatever is the document that is available, that
Okay.
you have to submit to them. If you
Okay.
don't have anything, just print your GST registration number and give to them and say that as per your requirement, I am having only this document. The balance documents will be submitted in due course of time. Please give us another 15 days. See, in order to satisfy an officer, what you should know is politely how to say no and get that additional time for you. You should
Okay.
never say upfront no to them.
Okay.
So whatever is available at your end, you just give it to them and say, sir, please give us some more time that I am pulling out the balance.
Oh.
But if you upfront say that you give me 1 month time, I'll give you entire set of documents, then they'll be unhappy. Keep them always happy so that you can also smile.
Yes, sir. For extending also, they're asking something under the table.
These are all some things which we cannot discuss in the public forum. That is there, but not with everybody. So we can't blame all the officers. But yeah, this kind of things are there that you have to tackle it.
Okay.
But my suggestion is that go for digitization and automation. So
Okay.
that where that maximum amount of data can be pulled out within minutes and you can submit it. And you can submit it in the soft form also. They will
Okay.
accept it. It is not mandatory that you have to submit to them in the hard copies only.
But
So in
there is
soft
no
form,
option only, sir, in portal. They have disabled actually.
see, that's what I'm telling. In the portal, whatever is possible that you have to do it in that way only. In the portal also, that whatever you are giving is soft form, not hard copies, right? Hard
Yeah.
copies in the PDF or JPG that you will be submitting to them.
Okay.
So what I'm saying is that if you have the data in the soft form, then it is always easy for you to share with them.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you, sir.
Yeah. So Malyadri is asking, branch-wise salary paid to employees in Tamil Nadu, you need to pay GST. Sir, nobody had asked you to pay GST on your salary. But what is this decision in Colombia, Asia, is something that one needs to go through. Only it talks about the employees who are catering to the other locations. Their efforts are to be charged. But there are ways in which it can be overcome. though the matter is sub judice, so it is going to be, there are solutions which are being implemented by several people. So you better take the counsel of any consultant, then they will be able to help you. If you do not have any problem, maybe that I can also suggest you a way out, but that will be an offline discussion with me. What is the time bar for issuing notice for audit under CGST Act from 1718? If you can highlight on this. Sir, that there is no time bar for the notice under audit, sir. That the audit can be done within 5 years from the close. So 1718, that you will be filing your annual return by December 18. From December 18, that they have got 5 years. But in between, we have got Corona. So the Supreme Court has extended the time limit to cater to the Corona gap. So you can be visited till 2024, or if they allege suppression, then 7 years is the time period. So you are not out of their clutches. So don't ever bother about what is the time bar and wait till that time. Someday that they will knock your doors. So better prepare yourself now.
Yeah.
Some
yeah.
more questions. Thank you is not a query. Yeah. Hemanti, do we need to pay GST on contract employee salary to contractor? See, contract employer's salary will be paid by the contractor. It is not subject to tax. But when you pay consideration to the contractor, it is paid because that you are receiving some services, then GST will come in. Hope I have answered you. He should charge GST only on his service charge, is it? See, there is nothing called service charge because he is rendering services using his employees by deploying his employees. So his cost that he is going to charge you. So on that, the GST will be applicable. So it is not on the margin money that he makes. Say, for example, that he has deployed 10 people for whom that he is paying 1,000 rupees. So 10,000 rupees, but he is charging you 12,000. So as per your understanding, that 2,000 has to be subjected to the GST because it is his profit margin. But that is not the law. Law says that entire 12,000 will be subjected to the GST. We are constructing the godown to store the goods at our vacant land at factories. So can we avail ITC on such godown? Sir, this will be answered by the Supreme Court in the Safari Retreats case. So let us wait for the decision to come. Till that point of a time, on immovable property that you can avail credit as per section 17(5). Yeah, I think that we have come to an end of our session. That I have answered all the queries of the participants. But if anybody has got any further queries,
So just one
I'll
moment.
be happy.
Yeah, just one moment. I think Mr. Ravindra has raised his hand again. Mr. Ravindra, I can allow you to talk again. Is there something that you'd like to? Yeah.
Yeah, I'm sorry, sir.
No problem.
No.
What you said, sir? Safari. This which one?
Safari retreats. Safari retreats. Decision is pending in the Supreme Court.
Okay.
So they are calling up for this case. I do not know when the matter is going to become will be coming onto the bench, but that will decide whether GST is ITC on the GST on the land will be available or not. So this is immovable property that what you are constructing. Hence, as per the current understanding, as per section 17(5), that you are not entitled for credit, but post Supreme Court decision, we can re-evaluate the position.
Okay, sir. Thanks a lot, sir. Thanks a lot.
No problem. We are providing service of pure agent reimbursement only with an overhead percentage over the amount whether GST is applicable. Sir, this is not something which can be answered just like that. What you are doing is a cost plus model. That's what you wanted to say. So what is the service that you are doing? Whether you fall into the category of intermediary, and to whom are you providing services, whether within India or outside India. So these factors are to be analyzed in order to give a solution to you. So with this limited information, I will not be able to analyze and come out with an answer to you, sir. Roshan. Yeah, any other participants?
Yeah, anyone else would like to ask any queries and directly to Mr. Akela? Else, I think we can wrap up because I think we have almost extended by about 1.67 hours around that. Yeah.
I don't see any further queries coming on, but my request to you again, reconsider automation and digitization, not in the interest of the sponsors that I'm telling, in your own interest in the long run, and because of the impending audits, certainly that you have to seriously think about it. Malyadri is asking the question again, export invoice has to be e-invoice because it is a B2B supply. Yeah. So that's all from my end. Thanks for your participation, and thanks web team for hosting me once again.
Pleasure, sir. Pleasure. Thank you all for your participation today. I think it has truly been a very insightful webinar and interaction was also good. And those of you who have shown interest for our platform, and I think there is also someone. So we will reach out to you, sir. Once the webinar is done, maybe by tomorrow, I think my team will be able to reach out to you. And on that note, I would like to end the session for today. Thank you all and have a good day. Thank you. Thank you all.